Homeless man richer than Elon Musk. What happens is shock. Like and subscribe to the channel and share in the comments where you are watching this video from. The rain poured heavily on the dimly lit streets of San Francisco, where a frail, disheveled man sat outside a coffee shop, clutching a tattered jacket against the cold. His eyes, sharp and piercing despite his worn appearance, scanned the passing crowd. People rushed by, umbrellas shielding them from the storm, barely noticing him. Among them, a tall man in a simple hoodie and jeans paused, his face partially obscured by the shadows of the night. Elon Musk had chosen this evening to walk alone, away from the towering glass offices and pristine conference rooms. He loved observing life at its rawest, unfiltered, unpredictable. Tonight, he wasn't the billionaire genius. He was just another man blending into the anonymity of the crowd. The homeless man noticed Elon standing still, his shoes soaked in a puddle. "Lost or just bored of life?" the man called out, his voice carrying a strange mix of sarcasm and wisdom. Elon turned to him, intrigued. "Maybe a little of both," he replied, stepping closer. "What about you?" The man chuckled. "Lost everything, but they can't take your mind, can they? That's the real wealth." His words struck a chord with Elon, who decided to sit beside him on the drenched bench. "What's your story?" Elon asked, genuinely curious. The man hesitated, then began. "Once, I had it all. A company, money, a family. Then came the crash, the lawsuits, the vultures. Now I'm here, but I'm still richer than you." Elon raised an eyebrow. "Richer than me? That's a bold claim." The man leaned closer. "Wealth isn't just numbers in a bank. It's knowing you've outlived the worst. It's the peace you carry when you've lost everything they said you couldn't live without." The conversation grew intense, Elon's sharp mind trying to dissect the man's cryptic words. There was something unnervingly confident about him. Elon decided to test him. "If you're so rich, why sit here in the rain?" The man smirked. "Because sometimes the rain washes away what money can't. What about you? Why are you here?" Before Elon could respond, a commotion broke out across the street. A car had skidded, narrowly missing a pedestrian. The man sprang to his feet and sprinted toward the scene with surprising agility. Elon followed, stunned by the man's speed and precision. What they discovered next left Elon speechless. The crowd had gathered near the skidded car, murmuring in shock and confusion. A young woman, clutching her child tightly, stood frozen in the middle of the street. Her face was pale, and her knees trembled as she looked at the vehicle that had stopped mere inches from her. The driver, a well-dressed man in his 40s, stepped out, yelling at her for being careless. Before Elon could step in, the homeless man did. He placed himself between the driver and the woman, his eyes blazing with an intensity that silenced the onlookers. "She's shaken, not deaf," he said sharply. "Show some respect." The driver sneered, clearly annoyed. "And who are you? Another bum playing the hero?" The homeless man's expression didn't falter. Instead, he pulled out a small, worn notebook from his jacket. "Who I am doesn't matter, but what you've done here does. You were speeding, weren't you? Didn't even try to slow down till the last second." The driver's arrogance cracked slightly. He looked around at the crowd, sensing the shift in their mood. "It was an accident," he muttered defensively. The woman, finding her voice, stepped forward. "He's right. You came out of nowhere. My son and I, we could have died." Elon observed silently, his analytical mind piecing together the dynamics of the situation. The homeless man's demeanor wasn't that of someone used to the streets. He was commanding, deliberate, and precise. It was as though he'd been in control his entire life. Elon's curiosity grew. The driver, sensing the tide turning against him, tried to deflect. "I'll call my lawyer. We'll sort this out." The homeless man smirked, the corners of his lips curling with a quiet confidence. "Go ahead, but when you do, make sure to tell him you're speaking to the founder of Atlas Dynamics." The name hung in the air, heavy with significance. Elon's eyes widened slightly, though he remained composed. Atlas Dynamics was a name he hadn't heard in years, a once prominent tech company that had vanished after a high-profile scandal. Could this man really be who he claimed? The driver froze, his face draining of color. You're lying," he stammered, There's no way. The homeless man took a step closer, his voice dropping but gaining weight. Try me. Call your lawyer. Or better yet, Google me. Let's see how far your arrogance gets you. The driver, now visibly shaken, mumbled an apology and hurried back to his car. The crowd began to disperse, the drama fading, but Elon stayed rooted, staring at the man who had just transformed before his eyes. "You're not what you seem," Elon said, breaking the silence. The man smiled faintly. "Neither are you." He turned and began walking away, his silhouette blending into the rain-soaked streets. "Wait," Elon called out, jogging to catch up. "Atlas Dynamics, what happened to it?" The man stopped but didn't turn around. The same thing that happens to anything too far ahead of its time. It's destroyed by fear and greed. Elon was more intrigued than ever. "If that's true, why are you here now living like this?" The man finally faced him, his eyes reflecting a mixture of pain and defiance. "Because sometimes the only way to rebuild is to let it all fall apart first. But if you really want to know the truth, you're going to have to dig deeper." Without another word, he disappeared into the shadows, leaving Elon standing in the rain, 1,000 questions racing through his mind. Something about this man didn't add up, and Elon wasn't the type to let a mystery go unsolved. Elon couldn't let it go. The man's words lingered like a puzzle begging to be solved. Back at his office, Elon pulled up every piece of information he could find on Atlas Dynamics and its enigmatic founder, Daniel Cross. The story was as tragic as it was shocking. A visionary company that had developed groundbreaking AI technology, only to be dismantled after a scandal involving corporate espionage and insider sabotage. Daniel Cross had been the face of the company, a man hailed as the next big innovator, until he vanished. Reports claimed he'd gone bankrupt. Others suggested he'd chosen exile, but no one knew for sure. The pieces didn't fit. How did a man of such stature end up homeless, sitting on a bench in San Francisco? Elon's instincts kicked in. He wasn't just curious now, he was invested. A week later, he found himself back on the same street, scanning the area for Daniel. The man was there, sitting under the same flickering street lamp, staring at the ground as if lost in thought. "I looked you up," Elon said, approaching him. "You're not just some guy who lost it all. You were sabotaged, weren't you?" Daniel didn't respond at first, then finally said, "The truth doesn't matter when the lie is more profitable. You should know that better than anyone." Elon sat down beside him. "Maybe, but I also know the truth has a way of coming back when you least expect it. So why give up? Why not fight?" Daniel's eyes flashed with something, a mix of anger and determination. "Fight who? The system? The people who built it? The ones who made sure I'd never recover? No, I've learned the hard way that some battles aren't worth fighting." Elon leaned forward, his voice low but firm. "Then fight smarter. You're clearly still brilliant, and if you're not using that brilliance, you're wasting it. What if I could help you?" Daniel laughed bitterly. "Help me? Why would you do that?" Elon smiled faintly. "Because I've been where you are, not homeless but close to losing it all. And because people like us don't quit, no matter how much they try to break us." For the first time, Daniel looked genuinely interested. "And what exactly are you proposing?" 3 months later, headlines erupted. Elon Musk partners with former Atlas Dynamics CEO for secret AI project. The announcement came with no details, only a cryptic promise of something revolutionary. Speculation ran wild and Elon refused to clarify, letting the curiosity build. Behind closed doors, Daniel had begun rebuilding the pieces of his shattered dream. With Elon's resources and his own unrelenting drive, the project took shape. But as the work progressed, cracks in the partnership began to show. Daniel's methods were unconventional, his ideas sometimes veering into dangerous territory. "You're pushing too far," Elon warned one night as they reviewed a prototype. "This isn't just about beating the competition. It has to be ethical." Daniel's expression darkened. "Ethics didn't stop them from destroying my life. Maybe it's time we stop playing by their rules." The tension grew, and Elon started questioning if he'd made the right decision. Daniel's vision was brilliant, but it was also ruthless. Then one day, Daniel disappeared. Again. This time he left behind a finished prototype and a letter. The letter read, "Elon, you were right about one thing. I don't quit. But to win this game, I have to play it my way. Keep the prototype. It's yours to finish. Maybe you'll do better with it than I ever could. And maybe someday, when the dust settles, we'll both know who really won." Elon stared at the letter, a mixture of admiration and unease filling him. Daniel had outmaneuvered him, leaving Elon with both the legacy of Atlas Dynamics and the burden of deciding its future. What would you do if you were in Elon's place, use the technology to change the world, or let it go, knowing its creator may have other plans? Share your thoughts and let the debate begin.